Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Junk Podcast, episode 135, recording on Wednesday, January 25th, 2023. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
And we delayed this week's episode and also postponed our best of 2023 because we knew the video game world would be abuzz with the Developer Direct presented by Xbox and Bethesda that was showcased today. We will be giving our reactions to that streaming event, highlighting some newish games from Xbox and Bethesda. Maybe talk a bit about what we played, including a game from the showcase. And that's about it. How you guys doing?
Good.
Not too bad. Got a bit of a cold, so apologies if I start coughing or something.
All right. Well, do your best. Thanks for giving it the effort there, Sean. You seem
no problem.
You seem perfectly fine. You might even.
I took the day off work and slept, so it probably helped.
All right. Yeah, that's good. But you had that deep timbre in your voice.
Oh yeah,
sounds great. All right. Without further ado, let's get into it. So the Developer Direct presented by Xbox and Bethesda kicked off at around 3 p.m. Eastern time. It clocked in at about 45 minutes. I was surprised. I thought it was going to be a much bigger thing. I don't think we've heard from Xbox in quite some time. So I know they had said it was going to highlight some major games, but it really was just that. Although it did start off by saying 4 big games, scratching out the 4 and putting 5. So I was like, ooh, what's the big surprise? We'll get into the surprise, but still everything. I mean, let's be honest, 2 of them were fucking duds. So I guess there was 3 big games to talk about for the most part. Let's go in the order of the show. The first studio that was featured, this whole thing was highlighting different studios, 5 studios and what they're working on. The first being Mojang Studios. Am I saying that right?
Mojang.
I've heard Mojang. I've heard Mojang. I don't know.
Which I believe is the developer that creates Minecraft.
Yep, right? That is correct. Yeah.
And I'm one of the, I guess, small percentage of people on planet Earth that does not play Minecraft or does not have a child that plays Minecraft. So I was not that aware of Minecraft Legends. That game I know has been announced before. It's kind of more of a like single player adventure based version, co-op version of Minecraft that's more combat focused, I think. I honestly don't remember much about Minecraft Legends, but this was highlighting the PvP strategy, real-time strategy, combat, kind of tower defense elements of Minecraft Legends, which I'm assuming the main player or the single player campaign leans on as well. But it looks okay. I have no idea if this is like on the radar of young people. I'm going to look to you two guys to see if this, like, do your kids even know about this? Do they care about this game? But I'll defer to you, but I definitely have some thoughts on some warning signs for this game.
Yeah, well, so first of all, like, I don't think so. I think it's a strategy game. Like, I think that's what it is. I don't think there's I assume there's a single player component. They were mainly showing the PvP stuff. But
there's it's strategy, combat, hybrids. Like, I think at one point they said, I'm going to go knock down these walls so I can attack these enemies while they do things. It's like you're commanding things while you're participating in the action. It's not like a top-down perspective where you're highlighting units to do things. It's power defense integration, like Orcs Must Die, and there's a bunch of games like this.
Yeah, that's where I was a little bit unsure exactly how it would play. And even from watching it, I'm still not totally sure. But like, I guess the thing that's interesting, obviously these kinds of strategy games, you build a base. And in this case, it's not just like click and a build starts. It seems like you're actually building as you build in Minecraft.
I don't think, there was one part they were building a wall. You're certainly not building it brick by brick. You are grabbing a wall and extending it. It's almost like a hybrid of strategy and something like Fortnite construction elements.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Like it's something in between. But I assume that's kind of the selling point of it because Minecraft's all about building. I don't really other than that, I'm not too sure what the appeal is. Like I think they've done one of these spin-offs already with Minecraft Dungeons, which was more of like an ARPG, which I think it did pretty well. I think people like that game. But I can say that my kids did not have any interest in this. So I don't know what that means, but
My kids are
smart.
my kids are totally unaware of any video games that are coming out unless they're being talked about by some YouTubers. So I don't think this game's on their radar at all. And for me, this game doesn't really look like it would appeal to my kids. My kids like the building aspects of Minecraft, not necessarily the combat. They like playing in creative. They don't like doing survival. So this does not resonate with them. Doesn't resonate with me either. It looked polished. It looked pretty good. But the gameplay was not something I don't think I would be interested in.
And I don't necessarily want to judge kids, but from my experience with my friends' kids, they're not like necessarily on the pulse of trends. Like Rocket League got to them 5 years after. Even Minecraft became a big thing with kids much later. And like my friends' kids weren't talking about Splatoon until Splatoon 3 came out. So I don't know if it's going to be like a huge deal right away. Everything Minecraft seems like more of a long tail kind of effort. So I guess we'll see what happens. My biggest concerns, not that I'm interested in the game, is I guess the other Minecrafty element of it is that the worlds are procedural when you do multiplayer. So you never know what the new battleground is going to be like, which most strategy games have some kind of fog of war element and learning the terrain for a new match. But there was kind of this conflict of design with how people were talking about it, where it was, oh, every battle's different. Everything, you never know how a battle's going to turn out, which I get as part of strategy games. But then every person who worked on the game, again, this video focused on developers, said the first thing I do every time is I go find this tiger. The first thing I do every time is I build a wall. If everyone's doing the same thing every time, the first time, that seems like a bad sign to me. If your whole game is about, every game's different and people don't necessarily gravitate to the same roles every time, but that's the frame of reference for people talking about the game. So, I guess at some level, any game you play, you tend to have like a routine where you're surveying the landscape, but you have a role. But that definitely gave me some concern. I'm not sure how they're going to handle, a balanced map procedurally, how different it could actually be. But they might have had some good solutions for those elements. But everyone's saying they do the same thing like every game. Seems like a really big warning sign for me for a strategy game. And I mean, they basically highlighted a strategy with the archers that was like a Zerg rush equivalent in StarCraft. So I don't know if balance as big of an issue for strategy games marketed to younger people. I don't know. Some ways it is. Like some kids, when they find an exploit, they are like even worse about it. They get locked into it completely. They can't motivate themselves to play in different ways. So as far as competitive multiplayer, I can't speak for single player. I've definitely got some concerns for this game.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Just like if you're right in the sense that if it's marketed to kids, maybe it doesn't matter. But like if there's a competitive element to this game, then making sure that a procedurally generated map makes it so that both teams have an equal chance. That seems like that's a really important thing to have. And I'm not sure exactly how that works.
Like you'd be limited at how many different maps you can come up with those types of things. Yeah. So, I mean, it could be interesting to literally do a procedurally generated map and it's like, yeah, whatever happens. That's the nature of Minecraft. We'll see how that plays out. I'm not necessarily buying it yet. So kind of an underwhelming start, at least from my perspective. I'm sure 80% of planet Earth disagrees. Anything Minecraft they're into, I am not feeling it. Anything else to add to Minecraft Legends PvP?
The only thing is that it comes out April 18th, which is relatively soon.
Yeah, that's a good point. Coming out in first quarter-ish, I guess. All right, moving on to Turn 10 Studios, the developers of the Forza series. And they are, I guess, rebranding in a way with Forza Motorsport. There's no number at the end. It's just Forza Motorsport coming in 2023. We learned by the end of the video. And I mean, this is pretty much what you'd expect. These racing games tend to be techgasms of sorts. Great technology. They look awesome. You're limited in the scope and number of elements on screen. So these games always look great. They're like touting 400 cars. That really doesn't mean all that much to me. I generally like the prestige racing games like Forza and Gran Turismo. So I guess I prefer Forza as like an approachable racer. So I'm excited for this game and to play it on a PC, like a high-end PC. It might even be better. So I'm definitely anticipating this game. But I guess the big question mark for me was like, they've rebranded this game Forza Motorsport. And I know they said with Halo Infinite, the idea was going to be, we're going to release Halo Infinite and we're going to support this game for a long time. That was the name Infinite, what it meant. So really didn't seem like there was a big plan in terms of Forza being, this is the one Forza product on current gen and future gen consoles. And it's going to be like a game as a service. We're going to update it continuously. I thought that would be part of this rebranding. I don't know if they've said it elsewhere, but that's the one question mark I have about it. Looks good. Exactly what I'd expect. The paint, especially when they were showing the paint shaders and materials, I thought that looked fantastic. But I mean, it is what it is at this point. We are confirming we're getting it this year.
That's an interesting thing about the name. I wasn't really thinking about that. And again, I don't know if they have said anything about this previously, but I was thinking how hard it is to kind of market or get excited about these games when really it's just like better tech every time. It's kind of like a sports game. It's like EA's games. Like at a certain point, you're just you're going to buy it every year or you're not. So I almost wonder if that's part of it too, where it's like, we're not going to release a new one of these every couple of years. We're just going to put out one and then just keep adding stuff to it. So maybe that makes sense.
To be fair, I think they've taken the longest break ever. It used to be alternating Forza, Horizon, Forza Classic, then Horizon. So I think it's been quite a while since, I think Forza 7 was the last one. Might have been 6. But that game definitely was pushing microtransactions and trying to get you to use these mods and cards. I think there was a microtransaction push from Microsoft. We know Phil's not going to like that. That's not going to fly. Gamers do not like microtransactions. Xbox will not do anything to upset gamers. So, we'll see how that evolves and how they monetize this game. Mostly it's just an incentive for Game Pass. So we shall see. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I kept getting hung up on how many times they said built from the ground up. They said it 4 times. After the second time, I was like, are you going to be fucking kidding me? And then they said it a third and a fourth time. Now, let me tell you, a game like this is not built from the ground up. Yeah, it is not.
So to be fair, they said it specific to
every guy said it one time. Every single person that talks said it one time.
Right. But they said for like the shaders have been built from the ground up.
That's bullshit.
The sound system has been built from the ground up. And there was a couple other ones. So I never got the sense that the entire game was built from the ground up personally, but I didn't notice it in the moment, but they did say that a lot for lots of different systems and ideas.
Like, let's be honest. If you're really building from something from the ground up, you're talking about starting from an empty text file and saying, all right, let's start building this game from the ground up. That's what that means. This doesn't mean that doesn't mean like, I hate this term. This is like my biggest pet peeve with like game development conferences. Like, built from the ground up is bullshit. Like, no company that has 7 games in a series is going to build anything from the ground up. NHL's not like, you know what? Let's just fucking throw out our 40 years of skating knowledge. Let's build it from the ground up, guys. It's a great idea.
Do any development.
Let's start from nothing. Let's literally throw out everything.
Better yet, let's scrap the whole development team and get some people who have no biases or
pure ground up. Now that is ground up. Let's get fresh blood, fresh code, fresh assets, everything.
Well, I mean, if you hand it over to a new developer, maybe, but I mean, even that's pretty unlikely.
I really like Huck's observation here, and it reminds me of the artists or musicians who say this is going to be just like our first album. We're going back to our roots with this album every time, and it never is. It is a cliche, and I'm in. Nice, but
there was another
this game. I'm excited for it.
There was another weird thing they said in there. Like, I agree, there was a lot of just kind of nonsense developer speak, or more marketing speak, I guess. But like, they said something like, I can't remember what they were talking about, but they're like, this aspect of the game is bigger than Forza 5, 6, and 7 combined, or something like that. And I was like, how does that work? It doesn't, like, because again, I was thinking what Huck's saying, like, you're building on what came before. So, I mean, how can it be? But
no, they're not building from it.
But I mean, maybe the cars aspect of it, or like tuning and changing cars, possibly. But either way, I'm also not the target audience for this game necessarily. Like, having a lot of cars, don't care. Is it look good? Is it a racing game? Yes, I will try it. I doubt I'll get hooked the same way I get hooked sometimes in a Horizon version of these games, but whatever. We'll techgasm on the PC and then call it a day. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I find it so weird with these games where, like, look how the dust collects in like the low pressure areas on the car hood. Like, who cares really? Like, except for like the top 0.001% of super crazy car enthusiasts, no one is going to care about that kind of stuff. So like, yeah, it's cool that it happens and that it's on there, but if I faked that, you'd probably never know the difference.
Look, if people are going to have techgasms, there's a small audience that is like fetishistic in their techgasms. They are looking for that specifically. They need to push beyond just shaders and lighting. So, got to give it to them.
I do agree with you though that the paint colors looked really good. They talked about how they're using ray tracing for, I think they said 2 types of reflections. I can't remember what exactly they said, but I mean, that's gotta be cool. That means like rear view mirrors and probably reflections off of like your car surface are going to be ray traced, which is cool. So I think it's going to look incredible. The only thing is, like, I've been recently playing Gran Turismo 7 and that game looks really good. So, whoa.
I played it. I didn't think it looked that great.
No,
no.
I think it looks pretty good. I mean,
it looks good, but it wasn't like when I played other racing games when I was younger. Like, this is the best looking game. Like, it looks good, but I still see some flaws with billboarding. I mean, those Polyphony Digital games, I think that's the name of the developer. Like,
Polyphony Digital.
Polyphony, yes. They use a lot of billboarding and like 2D textures, and it creates an interesting art style. I don't know if it's the best looking racing game I've played, considering like generation consoles, stuff like that.
Sure. And I've never played a Forza Motorsport game before, so I don't even have anything to compare it to. But I will definitely try this, especially since I got the new PC set up and Game Pass. So this is definitely going to be on my list of something to try. I don't know. The developer speak turned me off so hard. The time of day thing, that's not really anything crazy now. Lots of people do that. That's kind of been a thing for like at least, 5 years, if not longer. And what else did they mention?
Fuck, there's rain and weather dynamics in a racing game.
Yeah. Every race is different. Oh, that's another fucking bullshit point I hate. Every race, of course, every race is different. Like, what do you think everyone's gonna hold the accelerator exactly the same every single race? Like, it's gonna be different.
This guy is bringing the heat. Oh, yes. All right, we got to move on. This guy might pop a vessel. Next, from Tango Gameworks, developers of Ghostwire Tokyo and Ghostwire Tokyo 2, was a surprise game. I assume.
Don't you mean Evil Within? Evil Within 2?
What did I call it?
You said Ghostwire Tokyo, but there isn't a part 2 to that.
Okay, I meant to say Evil Within. Okay, that's totally on me. Did they develop Ghostwire Tokyo as well?
I think so.
I think so. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't feel as bad, but I fucked up, dude. What do you want? I made a mistake.
I just thought you'd want to know. That's all.
I do appreciate it. Anyway, they announced a new game called Hi-Fi Rush, which I'm sure Huck has some thoughts on this. We did an interview and played a game that's very similar.
You could say very similar.
Called Soundfall. There are many similar games like this that involved combat on the beat. This one has a unique art style, I would say at the very least, inspired by what I'm sure many people are saying, Jet Set Radio and Sunset Overdrive, for sure, which I definitely saw when I was looking at the video. I did play it a bit, and I guess the big surprise was it was launching today on Game Pass and on Steam. I think it's $40 Canadian on Steam, so it's I assume a somewhat smaller game. And it had some licensed music tracks. I have to say, I still don't think, like many games, including Soundfall, I tried that Metal Blade Hellsinger. This one, I'm sure the beat thing works. No game has made me feel it. Maybe it's just I have no rhythm and can't feel a beat, which is entirely possible. But when I saw some of the timing games and other things, I thought, oh, this is going to be the game that like makes a dummy like me understand beat and music in one of these games. And I have to say, so far, it did not. It feels pretty much like all the other games I've played like that, except the animation is amazing. Like the cutscenes and the vibe of the main character, especially, I thought it was absolutely incredible. I don't know. It feels like an animated cartoon in like the best way possible. So I have to say they knocked that out of the park in this game. I just don't know if this gameplay ultimately is for me, but it was a cool surprise.
Yeah, I like these games that they just announce them and then you can play it now. Like that's always a cool thing. Although it always makes me think, okay, does that mean this game sucks? Like, is that why they've been holding it in their back pocket?
So full disclosure, I did not watch this live, and I've always said someone needs to just drop a game and I want to know what happens. But the caveat for that is it has to be a drop a game that people know is a thing, like drop a new Mario game. I thought, oh my God, they dropped Starfield to get ahead of all these other January, February, March releases, which is already full. Like, we're not even going to tell people we're going to beat you all to the punch with Starfield. I thought that would actually be a very bold move that would work. And it's not that interesting of a game to drop, but that's the experiment I want to see happen.
Oh, so you're saying you just heard that a game was like shadow dropped? That's all you heard about? And then you didn't. Okay. Because
you guys were saying, or Sean was, I think, hey, they day one drop or announcement drop, and I always want that, but no one's ever really. It can't be a game you've never heard of. It has to have some connection
and a new IP.
Yeah, like this is not the way I envisioned it. It's got to be something major. So, not to say it's a bad game, but I was really hoping Starfield was going to drop today, and I'm like, this actually would be a huge deal. But like they wimped out. Didn't happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, Starfield was completely absent from the showcase as well, which is interesting. But
definitely having bold capitals here. Where is Starfield?
yeah, but I mean, I did play it a bit. But Huck, do you want to talk about just whatever you thought of the showcase for this?
Well, I thought they put like quite a lot of time into this game. I like the Black Keys tune that they used. Lonely Boy, good tune. I don't know if that implied that there was like quote unquote hit music in is there? Okay. So that's
there's a Nine Inch Nails song in it from what I saw so far. So there's some.
Okay. So they licensed a lot of like, pretty big music. So there's a lot of money behind this game, which is different than Soundfall. Soundfall had all like indie music kind of thing. And, but I did like the art style. I thought it looked pretty cool. I thought it looked like they were definitely taking some inspiration from the UI from Persona 5. There was a lot of like flashy, bubbly, moving UI elements in the trailer. Out Tonight was kind of a shock. Like you guys were saying already that, you have this game that no one knows about and then you just drop it. Also, did they call that the evil corporation is Vandalay Industries, like from Seinfeld? Is that correct?
I think it is. It sounds right.
But yeah, I didn't really put that together.
Okay. So yeah, it sounds like they're obviously taking some pop culture kind of like references and feeding them in there. But yeah, I thought it looked pretty good. I mean, I was kind of like, that's just like Soundfall. But other than that, I mean, it looked good.
There have been a lot of these rhythm-based games recently, and so it's kind of now a question of like, what are you going to do to set yourself apart? But yeah, I thought the visuals were fantastic. Like, there have been a couple other games recently that have kind of done like the full-on like interactive cartoon essentially. This one's probably one of the best I've seen, and I played up to the first boss, so beat the first boss, and I felt like I could have kept playing. So I was enjoying it. It does feel a little bit limiting in terms of, it looks like there's this big world, but there's just a lot of like invisible walls and stuff. You can't really go a lot of different places. And I agree with what you're saying, Frank, that some of the rhythm stuff, like, it's cool, but then when you actually get into a big fight with like a bunch of different enemies, like it's a game, and I think a lot of the games do this, where it's you're not penalized if you're not on the beat. It's just you kind of get bonuses to your damage and stuff if you are on the beat. But so when things get hectic, you kind of start missing the beat, and then you start thinking, well, okay, what, like, is it just an action game now? Like, it doesn't really matter. But
rewards aren't that satisfying, and especially the heavy combo, the Y button combo. I'm like, so I get to wait a little bit before I hit the button next. Like, why is that fun? But I mean, it is an okay game so far. I honestly don't know how much time I'll spend with it, but
there's some like quick time event stuff throughout as well. Like there's doors that you have to unlock with like certain beats and stuff like that. So there's little other things throughout the game that, like, I did find, like you were talking about, will it make me feel the beat? I mean, they definitely, everything in the level is moving to the beat. Like, they kind of highlight it pretty well. But yeah, I mean, ultimately it feels like something I might get bored of soon, but I was enjoying it.
All right. Anything else to add for that? The Nine Inch Nails songs are 1 Million and The Perfect Drug. So 2 Nine Inch Nails songs, everyone. Invaders Must Die, The Prodigy, Whirring, The Joy Formidable, Inazawa Chainsaw, by Number Girl, Wolfgang's Fifth Symphony by Wolfgang Gardner. So I think it's a pretty small game, to be honest. It's more about replaying the levels and getting a better score.
Yeah, probably.
That's all right. Okay, moving on. ZeniMax Online Studios giving us an update on The Elder Scrolls Online. What a dud. I'm sure there's a very specific audience for this game that already knows about it. I think the goal here was to tie it was to announce you can play all the old stories that specifically relate to Skyrim and Morrowind and Oblivion. I obviously don't have a personal affinity for those games. So this was just like, I do not care about this. I guess the best compliment I can say is I considered for 10 seconds, hey, maybe I should finally give this game a try because it's on Game Pass. And the 10 seconds expired, and I've never thought about it again until we're talking right now. So
it's funny. I had almost the exact same response. I literally took down no notes for this entire section and thought basically everything you thought. And yeah, I guess that's the extent of my comments.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
fight dragons.
I don't.
Are you going to throw ZeniMax Online Studios a bone? Talk about like this is a big deal?
No, I mean, I don't think it's a big deal. I like you guys. I was kind of like, I am a little bit curious, just in the sense that like I'm curious how it compares to Skyrim and some of these games, because it's an MMO. Like I assume it's got to be a little bit more dumbed down than those games. But I'm sure I will never get into it, but obviously they're putting a lot of time and work into this thing. There's got to be people playing it.
I don't doubt it. Yeah, I'm sure it makes money, or else they wouldn't be doing stuff for it.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess, a lot of people are still wondering when's the Skyrim follow-up going to happen. Because it seems like just all the time has gone into this. But they are doing a Skyrim follow-up, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It's not Skyrim, right? It's just Elder Scrolls, whatever the next.
Yeah, like whatever.
Elder Scrolls 6.
Right. Which, did they ever show anything from that? Or is that
just a splash kind of reel, or maybe even just an image saying it is in development, but
yeah. I mean, that would be something I'm sure that would get people really excited, but this is just kind of, they've got their audience. It really seemed like they were trying to say, hey, we know a lot of you haven't tried this. Now's the time to jump on. I don't know if it's going to work, but maybe.
Certainly not. Although we did consider it more than we ever have before.
So. I just don't have time for those kind of games, really. Like it's, if I had a few friends who were like actually playing it and they were like, hey, you should jump on with us, maybe I would. But
so lastly, we went to Arcane Austin to get a final look at Redfall. Is that right? I didn't write the name of the game down.
Yeah, that's right.
That is correct.
It takes place in Redfall, Massachusetts, is the name of a town that's been overrun by vampires. And slowly but surely, my excitement for this game has gone up and up and up, including trying Deathloop and eventually loving it. So this is more of a 4-player campaign single or co-op campaign driven game with kind of an open world setting. I thought the showcase actually showed the different types of gameplay and some procedural elements. Mostly, I think they're really good at coming up with like unique powers and ideas. Like in Deathloop, the multi-tagging and then shooting things at once. It had some really clever and compelling mechanics that I hadn't seen in shooters before. So they had new powers in this, abilities and devices that I thought looked really cool. I would say I'm at peak excitement for this game. And if I had seen this video, I think it would have ended up on my most anticipated games list because I think it looks quite good.
I mean, I'm not quite at that level. I think, I am interested in it more from the co-op perspective. I guess I was curious, like they seem to showcase a bunch of stealth stuff, which makes sense. I know I haven't really played the Dishonored games, but I know that's a big element of it. I guess Deathloop as well. But that's the one thing I'm like, if I'm playing this with a bunch of people and then we're in a stealth section, is that going to be annoying? Or, I mean, I guess their whole thing is they always give you multiple ways to approach situations. So maybe it doesn't even matter. But But yeah, the world looked cool. Some of the weapons looked cool. And just the idea of it's on Game Pass, being able to jump into it with some friends, that seems like a fun thing to me.
I wasn't that sold on the art style until this time. Like, I actually feel like the color palette and the world's got kind of strange proportions. I actually quite enjoyed it this time.
I found myself skipping a lot. I do like the vampire aspect of it, but the gameplay itself just kind of looked like another shooter to me, with, enemies that move faster and kind of, move in somewhat interesting ways, like a vampire you might think would, or some sort of, fantasy character. But I don't know, like, they're showing like side quests that are just like, normal side quest stuff. So nothing really blew me away. I still think it has the potential to be interesting, but I'm not really like highly anticipating this one myself. So I thought it looked good. I thought it looked fine. I thought the environments looked nice. Like, nothing against the game, really. It's just not pulling me in for whatever reason.
I like the effects of destroying the trees and the vampire hearts, and I thought the way they tied the lore in together with the mission structures, like the procedural vampire dens. I can envision this game where definitely the first time this game got announced, I'm sure they knew what it was. I don't know if they effectively conveyed to a viewer how you play this game. By the end of this, I generally got what I'm going to be doing, and it's going to be made or broken on how those mechanics and devices feel, which I am giving them the benefit of the doubt based on Deathloop. So I'm in. And it is coming out May 2nd, I believe. So not too far away on Game Pass and PC. So
yeah, I mean, it's like the first 5 to 6 months of the year are already looking pretty packed. So
I didn't buy Forspoken yet. I still kind of want to. Dead Space remake is Friday, I think.
Yep.
It's
wow, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize Forspoken was out, and I didn't realize Dead Space was that soon.
Yep. So
yeah, Forspoken is definitely getting a lot of mixed reviews, which kind of actually made me want to try it more. Like, I mean, I did play the demo, and I could totally see the good and the bad that everyone's saying about it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to jump in on that right now, but I do want to play it at some point.
Yeah, I feel like I hate this. This makes me actually want to buy it and just get right into it. It's going to be on sale so soon. Like, it's one of those, like, Callisto Protocol is already $53 a month later. I know it's going to be dirt cheap, and I'm not even going to play it much if I buy it now. So, but you know what? I just got to buy it. Forget it. Like, it's
Bye.
that's what it's about.
One thing I meant to mention about the Hi-Fi Rush game, which I forgot about, but I went to Frank's favorite website, IGN, just to double check if there was a review posted, and there's not, which I was kind of surprised. I thought they would have, sort of like some sort of, day and date launch review lineup set up with websites. So at least the websites would know, but it doesn't look like that's the case. It looks like this was really just like dropped out of nowhere on everybody, which I'm a little surprised about, because now there's no real coverage prepared to like push it past the people who watch this developer thing or have Game Pass already that see the new games that come up. So I was a little shocked by that. I was expecting a little more marketing push, I guess, behind it from other sources than just this YouTube video.
Yeah, I wonder how that would work. I was definitely thinking about, I like, well, if people get review copies, you can see when people are playing review copies and they get trophies and achievements, and how do you manage that? Do you like actually give it a different title and have NDAs? I would think you lean on testing internally, and the developers seem to say like they thought if this hasn't leaked, it's going to be a big surprise, and it was. That's why, like, my dream scenario is almost impossible, because like in order to get people to test it thoroughly for a game of that size, doing that covertly, I can't even imagine going about that.
Yeah, I mean, this was a very similar scenario to Trials of the Blood Dragon years ago, which came out and nobody knew it was coming, and no advanced reviews, and it turns out a lot of people didn't like it, and I think it ended up getting pretty middling to poor reviews. Although I kind of liked it, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of the benefit of doing these surprise launches is you can not have reviews like early reviews, and there's a built-in excuse. So I mean, that's where you kind of start wondering, do they know it's a bad game? But yeah, I think it would have leaked. There's no way you could keep that under wraps if you had advanced copies.
You've got to have systems for like hiding games on the network, like for testing, or they should have them. So like all the systems still work, but no one can publicly see any of that information, or alerts don't happen. You can't take screen. I mean, people could still share their screen, but I don't know. It feels like,
well, I mean, there's like the developer network, which you could in theory like send like test kits to outlets, which I'm sure some do.
Yeah, they must have this. Yeah.
And then have them just play on that, which is essentially supposed to be like a retail unit. So you could say you will not get a retail copy until it's launched, but here is like the dev.
But even then, like people will talk. So I give them credit for keeping it a secret. That's pretty good. Mm-hmm. Now let's grade the video. And then there's one other thing I want to bring up. I'm going D+. Not a very good showcase, and certainly nothing new other than Hi-Fi Rush, which was good, but not enough to really move the needle.
Yeah, I'm like a C- probably. Like there's only 5 games being shown. I do like kind of letting the developers kind of talk a bit more. Like they gave a bit more space for the games, and I thought they did show off the games in a decent way. It's just I didn't care about most of them. So,
yeah, I'm going to be actually the most positive. I'm going to give it a C.
You hated everything in it.
I did, but I mean, I still thought it was presented pretty well in terms of like the flow. I like that it was short. I didn't feel like they lingered excessively long on anything. Like, the Redfall thing kind of went on a little too long for me, but everything else felt like it was maybe just slightly too long, not way too long. And 45 minutes, that's my bread and butter right there. 2 times speed, that is boom, done. Love it. So I'm going to give it a C, even though I also didn't really like anything in it. I thought the Hi-Fi Rush thing looked good, but I thought like, the developer interview things, other than the built from the ground up multiple repetition thing, were done pretty well, and they weren't overly cringy or anything like that. Like compared to some other stuff, I thought it was pretty decent.
Right, well, that's where we differ. I'm voting or rating the how excited I am by it, not necessarily the quality of the presentation. But one thing, when they said 4 and scratched out 5, I thought the 5th game was going to be the GoldenEye 007 that got leaked. I assumed it was being leaked before the showcase, that it's coming to Game Pass and Nintendo Switch Online this week, in 2 days on Friday. So I thought, oh, this is going to be a big deal, and it wasn't even in there. So that actually has me, I don't know what this is going to be like in terms of updated controls, online multiplayer. It seems like it's kind of a covert release, which has me slightly concerned as to how good this remake or remaster is actually going to be.
It's coming out in 2 days.
Yeah. It comes out.
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, it's like, why wouldn't you just like throw a little mention or just be like, hey, look at this, all the upcoming Game Pass games? Seems like a thing they would do, but I guess they just wanted to focus on these specific games. So to throw in like GoldenEye would be kind of weird. It'd be kind of out of place.
But I assume if you've tried to play GoldenEye on Nintendo 64, it's borderline unplayable. So
Yeah,
I haven't seen anything highlighting. I might have missed it, that it's got updated, modern quality of life controls. So I don't know. I guess there is new control options. It says new control options, but I don't know.
I do have a feeling people are going to be maybe a little bit like they don't know what they're in for, with that, because I think it is going to be much more true to the original game. Like,
whoa, I did not see this before. The two versions of the game aren't identical.
Yeah, I heard that before. I think
we talked about that.
That only the Switch version will include online multiplayer?
Yeah, yep. I think we talked about that, yeah.
So people have to buy it. They don't get, that's pretty much what it sounds like. It's a way for them to sell the game on Switch, so that, people don't just get online multiplayer for free as part of Game Pass.
Yeah, probably. But I think the Xbox version is the only one that's like in 4K or something like that. There's some
which probably can't run GoldenEye in 4K.
Yeah, but I don't know how much
Switch
it matters.
Can't do 4K at all.
Yeah. So anyway, another ball dropped.
One thing that Sean mentioned about why not just put like a little thing like look at all the games that are coming to Game Pass or just came. Like they just got Persona 3 and 4 and Monster Hunter Rise on Game Pass. Why not highlight that stuff? I mean, that's like one card at the end. Like that wouldn't even take that long to slot into the presentation at the end. You don't need to do anything crazy to just have a static image with like, look at these new great games that just came to Game Pass. And, here's the next 2 months or 1 month of games that are coming. It seems crazy that you wouldn't take the time because, people
did click on a sizzle reel. They literally went to a video at the end and clicked on it. That was just a montage, but it only had the games from the showcase.
Yeah. I mean, like Monster Hunter is huge. Persona 4 Golden is huge. Why not mention those? It seems crazy. Anyways, but oh well.
Yeah, I think
give us a call to know the actual sales numbers of those Persona 3 and 4 re-releases. I'm genuinely curious.
I know Persona 4 Golden for Vita sold probably the most of any Vita game. I don't know how many that is, but it's pretty highly sought after. And I am sure, how many did Persona 5 sell? Probably a few million.
I don't doubt Persona 5 is huge, but
yeah. So if you have hooked new people in Persona 5, why not like, hey, here's another Persona game that you might like,
Yeah, I hear you, dude. I hear you.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is I think they had some kind of post video because they mentioned that I think they were going to show more Forza or Elder Scrolls. That's what it was.
Elder Scrolls, yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe there was some more stuff about Game Pass, but probably not.
Yeah, I didn't see that video.
Well, that was a bummer. I thought it was all hyped up.
Well, I mean, so it kind of brings up the question, like this is supposed to be a big year for Microsoft, right? And they just had some layoffs and stuff too, which was not the best. About that. Not the best press, which had a lot of people wondering what's going on with the team working on Halo Infinite and stuff like that. But yeah, so last year, I feel like there were not very many Xbox exclusives. And it was all because all their big stuff is coming out this year. And now, I mean, I guess these are some of the big ones. Obviously, Starfield wasn't in there, but are we feeling like it's going to be a big year for Microsoft, or is this another weak lineup?
Dude, I've been telling you this for 3 years. I don't know what developer that's plunging into irrelevance they're going to acquire next, but they are just not making good acquisitions. I have nothing other than some Bethesda stuff to be hopeful in terms of Xbox. I mean, they put their big effort, was it 2 Christmas or a year ago plus, with Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 5. That was their big push when, they had the advantage of consoles available for Christmas. And you guys were all drinking the Kool-Aid. You're like, Game Pass, oh my God, it's the greatest. It's awesome. I told you, it's over. It was over then. It was over a year before that. And they will survive because of Game Pass and a few good games and Bethesda, I suppose. And I guess biggest Minecraft. I think that's probably where they make a lot of their money in the games division. But they do not have compelling games.
Well, I mean, there's still this whole Activision thing going on, which I'm sure, thought that would have been finalized by now, and it's looking less and less likely to happen. So,
look, as much as I'm shitting on Xbox for the most part, I do not get that lawsuit. I will never get it. These acquisitions happen all the time. I do not understand the grounds of this lawsuit in any way. In any way.
It's just Call of Duty, I think. That is the huge sticking point. If they weren't messing with Call of Duty, no one would care. But that makes so much money for everyone.
Lots of games could make money for other companies. They acquire exclusive rights to companies all the time. Unless there's some pre-existing deal with PlayStation, which I think they said, we will uphold any existing deals. I really think Sony should just say, we don't care. Go for it. And I don't think Call of Duty is going to be that big of a deal in 5 years' time. I wouldn't even be worried about it if I was Sony.
I mean, it's still top of the charts for 2022, I believe. So
every game dies out eventually, and I feel like Call of Duty is on the way down.
Could be.
Oh, good call, Microsoft. Take another one. If I was Sony, I'd be working on my own. I know MAG shit the bed when that was their multiplayer shot on PS3, but I would be trying to come up with my own. And maybe
they should.
What? The Last of Us insanity, they can parlay that into their multiplayer experience. And that's what I'd be focused on.
I'm sure. I bet you that multiplayer game is going to drop at like the last episode of the show.
Yeah, or the beta or something.
They probably have something timed. But I was going to say, you should also try to bring back SOCOM. Remember that game had come out and then that Sony hack happened and they had to shut down the servers for however long and it just completely screwed over that game. So it'd be good if they gave that game another chance. Not that game, but that franchise another chance.
I'll take Resistance. I'd much rather
order that too.
Resistance.
Can you only play Resistance 1 on like a PS3 disc now? Like, can you buy that digitally?
I think there's a digital collection with all three, but don't quote.
Is there? Interesting. I had the itch to play that game.
We've already spent way too much time on this company. Anyone have anything they played they want to talk about?
I played Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which I am surprisingly enjoying a lot.
Good game.
Yeah. I really like the style of the game, short little levels. Almost gives me Mario Odyssey feel with like how you suck in different things and then your abilities change. Kind of the same with throwing your hat and taking over things. But that's not a bad thing. I think the puzzles are not overly challenging, but still make you use your brain enough where you kind of have to kind of figure them out. And I think
when I really got that game was the challenge levels, when it's like use one of the abilities in a very specific context.
Yeah, I haven't done many of those. I've done maybe 3 or 4 of those, but they're pretty fun. And I like how they are timed and that you usually the first time you're pretty close, but you can't really get it. Like, I think they're balanced really well. That time limit that they set is really nicely balanced where, you'll have to do it a couple times, but you're never like a minute off or anything like that. It's never impossible. First time is kind of like figuring out what you need to do. Then the second time is kind of like refining. And then usually I get it, the third or fourth time or something like that. So really enjoying that one. actually. So I'm going to try to play that a bit more before Sunday.
Late push.
Late push.
I mean, there's been some late pushes on my side. I'm not going to say exactly what, but I mean, I've been trying a lot of different things, and like a lot of them, I'm not going to play nearly enough to even consider for a top 10 list. But like, it's just kind of like inspiring how many are actually like cool new games that I wasn't even really thinking about. But yeah, I'll mention one that I've been playing that kind of impressed me. It's called One Dreamer, and it is kind of like a story-driven game. It's about a game developer, somebody
I bought this a while ago, and there was a prologue for it too, I think.
Yeah, I don't think I played the prologue, but yeah. So it's like the idea is this guy like wants to be a game developer. He's kind of
Frank. If I remember,
his name is Frank. And something, I think like his mom died or something like that. And so you're seeing sort of like flashes of that. And he's kind of lost his way. Like he's working some boring day job coding, but like he still wants to get back to that dream of being a game developer. But the main gameplay, like there are sections where you're kind of going around your house looking for stuff. Like it's got like a slight kind of adventure game, point and click adventure game feel. But then there's these sections where you actually are doing coding, and it's kind of interesting because it's kind of like what's that game? Like Human Resource Machine, those kind of games, but it's not like flow charts. They just kind of have this like pseudocode way of, so like you kind of go into the code and it will show you a variable, and you can toggle like this variable from true to false, or it'll give you some different values you can set it to. But then they layer on all these different things. So it's kind of like I'm curious, like it's not super challenging if you know coding, but I'm very curious what it's like for people who don't know coding, because it still requires a knowledge, or is teaching you object orientation. Like it's, you have to go into a class and find a variable in that class, which is then referenced somewhere else. So I don't know. I mean, it's puzzle stuff basically, but I was kind of digging that mixed with the story stuff that was going on. And yeah, I'm going to try to keep playing that at some point, because it was pretty cool.
Nice. I just played. The main thing I've been playing is Rogue Legacy 2, which I never started, and it's really good. Like so many things to invest in between runs. I do find you have to, like, you really can't beat certain bosses without leveling up a bunch, where I feel like, well, this is a level up run. Like there's no chance I'm going to beat anything, which I guess is a lot of roguelites are like that. But I'm really enjoying it. Super polished. Probably going to stick with it. I find myself doing one more run when I play it, like a couple more. Ends up being half an hour. Well, let's do one more, which is the best feeling with a roguelike or light. So Rogue Legacy 2, slept on it for most of the year. It's great.
Cool. I didn't get back to that one. It's on my wall of shame.
No more runs for this guy.
No more runs. That's right. The last game I've been playing a little bit more of is Pentiment. I've still been going through that. I've made it to probably like the 1/3 point. I'm in Act 3, though Act 2 is literally like a 5-minute cutscene. So I don't know why they even call it like an act. But yeah, so I'm in Act 3, which is kind of like jumps the story forward. I think it's like 7 years into the future. So that's kind of interesting now to see kind of like how things have developed since the first act, or the first 2 acts technically. So it's still not like, wow, this game is amazing, but it's better than my first 2 hours experience with it. But it hasn't totally grabbed me still. I'm kind of forcing myself to play it. So I don't think it's going to hit my list unless there's some magical change. But I don't know where I'm at with it. It's kind of a game. It's a game with lots of talking. and the occasional puzzle thing or game mechanic. That's about all I can say about it.
Cool. I'll just mention one more thing. I've been playing this VR game called Wanderer, which I really, if I did play it enough, maybe could be under consideration for my list, but I'm not going to get into it enough. But I've been meaning to play it all year, and it's kind of this time travel game where you're I don't even totally, like, I'm not even far enough to really know the whole context, but the idea being that you're sort of in this alternate version of the future. Like you start off, the first kind of main level is you're in this flooded out version of Boston, I believe, which is kind of like just cool, just walking around in that environment. But I think the idea is you go to like different parts of history, and it's mostly like a puzzle type game, but you're kind of interacting with a lot of different things, and yeah, it just was very immersive, and I thought a pretty high quality VR game. Like, I'm a little surprised it's not being talked about more, but if you are into VR, I would say this is worth checking out for sure.
Cool. Did anyone ever play, I think you tried it, Sean, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands?
Yeah, I've played a bit of it.
All right. What do you think? Should I buy that thing or what?
Sure. Yeah, it's pretty fun. I mean, it's more fun co-op for sure, but I honestly,
right? Or did you buy it on Steam?
What's that?
Did you buy it on Steam or is it Game Pass?
It's not Game Pass, but I think I did buy it on Xbox when it was on sale. But it's, yeah, the sense of humor in it was the thing that kind of sold me. Like, I was actually laughing at some of it. So, could have been on top 5 funniest games, maybe. I don't know.
All right. Okay, that's it. We done?
I think that's it.
Done.
Coming in right at the end of January, last possible minute. Will there be another delay? I don't think so. The Bills are not playing this Sunday, so there will be no delay. I don't have to go to Atlanta. But yeah, get ready. Top 10 lists coming this Sunday. Other than that, check us out at youtube.com/GameJunk. Discord server link is there. Huck is My Angry Commute, and Equilibrium Sys on Twitter. Sean is Film Junk. Thanks for listening or watching. Bye-bye.